Okay, after making a few of these slides, I realized that I really didn't step back and give a big picture of language learning, so I'm actually going back to give this first one, and I want to talk to you a little bit about philosophy of language learning. And so this is an introduction to the rest of the sessions here. I want to start out just by reminding you that when you learn a language is spoken. Now there's a written form too, but the focus, at least in this set of lessons, is about speaking the language. And I think that's really the goal most of us have, and we kind of think the writing will come along as we go. So if you're going to learn a spoken language, the only way to really learn it is to speak. And this, I think, is one hang-up that a lot of Westerners have, particularly about learning language, because they've spent so many years of their life in a classroom doing classroom learning. They assume that they must learn similarly with a teacher in a classroom. Now maybe you're thinking to yourself, well, that's not me. And then you go out and you buy a grammar book and you spend all your time trying to understand the grammar. Now I want you to think a little bit about when you speak English. Do you think in your head, okay, noun, subject, verb, and then put your sentence together? I didn't think you did. None of us do, because we think more in phrases. And so I want to encourage you not to focus and fixate on understanding grammar as a topic, but instead we're going to be learning phrases that have grammar in them, and over time the grammar will become apparent to you. And then one other thing is language learning is not simply the memorization of stacks of vocabulary cards. Now, there is nothing wrong with memorizing vocabulary, and you need to do that. But once again, the problem with memorizing cards is that it focuses on the written text and not the spoken. And I think what you'll find is if you get out and just start speaking the language, vocabulary actually kind of comes naturally and pretty quickly as you go about it. Now, can you go to a class? Of course you can. Can you study grammar? Yes, and you should. Should you have stacks of memorization cards? Yeah. But these things should be secondary in your overall approach to how you go about learning language. Learning language is about walking and talking. Now, I didn't just put down talking here. I put down walking because you want to be out interacting with people. You want to be face to face, and you want them to be asking you questions most of the time, questions you don't understand. And you want to be trying to formulate responses to the parts of the question you do understand. And so you got to get out there. You got to ride public transportation, for example. Maybe something you're not used to doing. You need to go down to the marketplace. You need to find whatever social situations are out there in which you can practice your language. I want to suggest that you think about your living situation. Many of us, when we move into a foreign culture, like to create kind of a little enclave, our own space to escape from the pressure of the cross-cultural situation. And particularly in the beginning phases of language learning, we all know that immersion is better. So get out there and be a part of a family. When our family moved to Croatia, we lived in the apartment of a Croatian family for a few weeks. And then we moved into a neighborhood which was not populated by English speakers. And we purposely cut ourselves off from the ability to speak our mother tongue. Learning a language is really about being a child. Now maybe you're in your 30s or 40s and you're thinking it's going to be so hard to learn this language. Well, one reason why it's hard is because we begin to see ourselves as incapable of talking about the red ball, the blue ball, the green ball. But that's all just going to be part of our language learning process. And so get ready to make a lot of mistakes and get ready to kind of adopt the posture of a child. We do have this idea that children learn language really fast, and I'm sure that there are some cognitive things and some developmental things going on there that make them learn language fast. But my experience is that adults always can learn a language faster than a child if they go out and speak the language. And that's because you have the added advantage as an adult learner of being focused and going after specific objectives and really trying to get the language down. So you want to verbalize, you want to play with the language, you want to try tongue twisters, you might want to try color quizzes, you want to stand up, you want to sit down, you want to run, you want to learn how to take commands. Just play and get into this whole idea of language. Now, a lot of the things we'll be talking about here come from the LAMP book. LAMP standing for Language Acquisition Made Practical. It's an older book, and I'm sure that there is a lot of new research that's out there, new ideas that are out there. But it's a very basic book because what it does is it teaches you how to structure self-directed language learning with real people. Now, again, I just want to emphasize, if you're in a class, that's great. And you should be in a class if you can be. But better for you if you see your language learning as a process that you are responsible to make happen and to be self-directed about it. And again, I just want to emphasize, you want to be out there with real people. Here are a few ideas if you find yourself maybe 6 to 9 months into language learning, you're feeling bogged down, like it's not going anywhere, you're not getting it fast enough. Of course, I already mentioned immersion, but you can have an immersion experience at any time. You could right now move to, for example, a village, small village in the countryside where nobody speaks any foreign languages at all. You could additionally just think, okay, I'm going to start all over, and you could reboot your language learning process from scratch. Remember to form a daily habit. We'll be talking about the learning cycle. You don't want to have cram sessions where you try to get in as much language as possible. I'll be sharing lots of drills with you. Pick a few drills that work well in your particular language. Now, in the language I learned, Serbo-Croatian, it was very helpful to do substitution drills because of the way that they would embed various meanings within a word by changing the endings of the word. And so by substituting in different words, you could begin to feel the pattern of change that was happening. And experiment, try some new things. Do something wild. Host a dinner in which when your friends come over, you give them a stack of cards that you've been drilling on and say, can you make sure that tonight sometime we go through this card and go through 50 cards in one night. Come up with lots of different and crazy ideas to experiment with the language that you're working in. So that's a short introduction for you to some of the ideas that we're going to be covering in each of these sessions.